What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Martial Arts Monday review. This week we're taking a look at Twilight of the Warriors, Walled In, a film directed by Soy Chang, starring the legendary Sammo Hung, Louis Koo, Raymond Lam, and many, many others. If you're up on your more recent Hong Kong film and also TV shows, you're going to recognize a lot of faces in here, or maybe you might not, considering this is a pretty grimy, gritty film, and a lot of the characters in here, if you look at their profiles on IMDb, I mean, they're almost unrecognizable. Facial hair, long hair, scars. One guy has a mask on. He's got so many scars from previous battles. But yeah, this is tons of fun. I wasn't 1,000% sure that this would be a Martial Arts Monday review. I thought it would, considering Sammo Hung's in it. But this really does fit the bill for a Martial Arts Monday review. Action-wise, it's almost a throwback to a Shaw Brothers or Golden Harvest film, just set in more modern times, set in the Kowloon Walled City. This is set perhaps in the 80s, 90s perhaps, back when Hong Kong was still under British control. As a matter of fact, there's a scene where they're watching television and they make an announcement that the agreement has been struck, or they're going to honor the agreement to turn Hong Kong back to China, mainland China, in 1999, and then they start speculating on TV that the Kowloon Walled City will be torn down. So all the gangsters that sort of run it are like, well, we're on borrowed time, and that, of course, is very true. It no longer exists today. Now, if you're reading about the Kowloon Walled City, is pretty fascinating. It's, the authorities did not really go in there. It was a haven for all kinds of illegal activity. As far as film goes, I'm going to consult this booklet that came with the Long Arm of the Law box set. I have reviewed both of these, Long Arm of the Law and Long Arm of the Law 2, which has an extended sequence which was filmed in the Walled City, which was very unusual. There were films such as Man on the Brink and Brothers from the Walled City, which had brief shots of what was supposed to be the Walled City, but weren't really filmed in the Walled City. Even Bloodsport has a scene. There's supposed to be like, I think the tournament is supposed to take place in there, but they only have like an exterior shot or something like that, and so none of those films really had permission to go in and film extensively inside until Long Arm of the Law 2. So the finale of Long Arm of the Law 2 was actually filmed in the actual Walled City. Narrow hallways, very kind of grimy and gritty environment. Really great finale for that film. Please check out my review of that film. So yes, I wasn't sure whether this would be like a Hong Kong action review, like Long Arm of the Law, or Undeclared War. Those films may have some martial arts in them, but they're more action oriented. But yeah, this is really just like a throwback to Shaw Brothers, Golden Harvest type kung fu films. There's even a character in here who has an ability that is, kind of defies, reality, where he's like almost impenetrable. At first you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But yeah, even before that, right from the first sort of confrontation where Louis Koo punches the Raymond Lam character whose name is Chan Lok Kwan, he goes flying across the room and corkscrewing through the air from a punch. So it's that kind of film. So they achieve in this film, I think, with mostly CGI or possibly some wires that have been digitally erased by CGI, but I think mostly just CGI. That's kind of what it looked like to me. What the old Shaw Brothers films used to achieve with wires and other types of special effects. Yeah, there's a lot of martial arts in this. Now, it gets to the point at the end where you're like, wait a minute, all these gangs going to war against each other? Does anybody have guns? And then they bring the guns out. And then it has a touch of, Hong Kong action / heroic bloodshed, John Woo type films, where people are firing, round after round and missing 99.99% of them, of course. But yeah, just a real, if you like martial arts films, kung fu films, you're going to enjoy this. This is a lot of fun. The cramped quarters and just the surroundings really add to the action. It's a very unique looking film. So for the Walled City, I just watched an interview with director Soy Chang. They had a couple different locations they built, but they did build For some of the bigger open areas in the walled city, they had separate sets, but then they actually built like an actual replica of the walled city. Narrow hallways, wires hanging down from the ceiling. There must have been miles of wires in this movie. Some rooms that had holes cut in them. So the fight choreography was pretty wild. Just kind of gritty, grimy. But they had, they had barbershops in there. They had all kinds of restaurants. They had, there was prostitution in there. There was different gangs and so forth. And it's all captured pretty vividly in the film. And they tore it down right after. So the replica no longer exists, which seems amazing. So people apparently in Hong Kong were sort of reading about this film for a few years before it came out and got pretty excited. It was in theaters around here. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see it. It disappeared rather quickly. So, but hopefully, in the future, some other films will have some wider distribution. There's a Donnie Yen movie premiering next month in Hong Kong and China called The Prosecutor, and it's actually going to be premiering here just a few weeks later. So hopefully the distribution on that one will be pretty wide. I wouldn't mind driving a little bit extra to see it, but hopefully that one will sort of take off here in the United States and North America as well. Anyway, let's get to the plot. You have a young man who says he's a refugee, although there's a little twist there. He's not that young. He's like in his late 30s, I think, the actor, but I kind of identified him as the young hero, played by Raymond Lamb, who's very good. Wasn't really familiar with him. He's trying to get a fake ID so he can exist, and he gets kind of screwed over by Sammo Hung's gang, and Sammo Hung's character's named Mr. Big. But as my wife said, he's actually not that big in this. He looks, rather trim compared to how he's looked in the past. He still moves well. And apparently behind the scenes, he really had like kind of a bad leg. So he really, he really did acquits himself well, like always. I mean, he was choreographing martial arts films 40 years ago. So he kind of gets screwed over. They give him this lousy ID. They have a little fight. He makes a run for it and grabs a bag. He doesn't know what it is. He's hoping it's money because he thinks they owe him money, and it turns out to be drugs. They chase him, great chase scene. He runs into the walled city, has a confrontation with the gang in the walled city, who's run by Louis Koo, whose name is Cyclone. He's kind of the guy that sort of bankrolls him, is kind of trying to go legitimate. He's played by Aaron Kwok, who is a musician, actor, singer, dancer, kind of a Renaissance guy in Hong Kong. He's billed as, I think it's billed as like special appearance by Aaron Kwok. And, at first there's sort of some antagonism, but then they give him something to do and he acquits himself well. And him and a bunch of henchmen for the Cyclone find common purpose in avenging the beating of a defenseless person. They kind of get their payback. And then he sort of becomes one of the gang, so to speak. But there's a whole bunch of history with this city. I mean, there was a massive gang war that they allude to through flashback, years before this. And he even asked, like, hey, how come all the walls have these like slice marks in it? That's because they were just going nuts with machetes and everything. All these remnants from the big gang war. And they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so was killed right there. And there's like a hole in the wall. Somebody, it turns out, has sort of a grudge against him for reasons, and I won't really go into it. So despite there's a truce between these gangs, the other gang doesn't go in the walled city, but guess what happens? The truce gets broken and all hell breaks loose. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about the plot. It was pretty wild. This guy here, his name was King. He's played by Philip Ng. He's like a henchman. He kind of steals every scene he's in. He's just like a maniacal, laughing lunatic of a henchman. It's really pretty wild stuff. Great action choreography. A little, you're going to get 20 minutes in and you're going to realize that it's a little bit over the top and fantastical. But like I said, it's almost like an homage to old school Kung Fu movies in a different kind of a setting. I thought it was fantastic. We had a great time with it. Like I said, it does get a little violent towards the end, for sure. These guys take some punishment, straining credibility. Like how are you walking at this point with things stuck in you and through you and getting shot and so forth. But it goes for, like a lot of the older films does, it goes for some sentimentality. There's a lot of kids in there, so they're trying to fly a kite, and the big boss is kind of a soft touch. He actually enjoys just working as a barber, you know, it goes for that kind of a pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, but essentially this is just a crazy, over the top martial arts extravaganza of a film. Recommend it highly if you're into this kind of thing. Check it out. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below, and I will check you guys next time. Thanks.